Ladies and gentlemen, what's up, man? It's Trayvon Colby. You already know what time it is. Respect my nerves. Ladies and gentlemen, I told y'all, man, Black Comic Renaissance, dude, it's here. It's happening. It's happened. And we finna get into it, man. We finna go all the way back to the 90s, man. This brother is a veteran. This brother is amazing. This brother is the ace boom coon, like my pop would always say. Nino Brown, if you know what I'm saying. Baddest man in the whole dang town. Um, Roosevelt Pitt is the founder of Purge. And Purge, like I said, Black Comic Renaissance, along with the plethora of other Black comics that was out, away from Milestone. Roosevelt, my brother, how you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I'm black, baby. Black is God. Black is beautiful. Roosevelt, you want to tell us where you're from, Roosevelt?
I am originally from Wilson, North Carolina, the eastern part of the state. Most people may be more familiar with Greenville, North
Yeah.
Carolina. I'm about 30 minutes or so from there. Born and raised, as they say. So that's where my roots start.
That's what's up. I grew up in Charlotte, man. I'm originally from Daytona Beach, but I grew up in Charlotte.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Good. So you're a North Carolinian at heart, maybe.
Yeah. I got two homes. I say it like that. Florida's home, but there's a special place in my heart for Charlotte. Charlotte. Yeah, I got a special place in my special place in my heart for Charlotte. I'm actually trying to get a comic book shop in Charlotte. But anyway,
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Well, you gotta let me know now when you have that grand opening. Now I need to be
yeah,
there.
yeah. I have a book signing. Everybody finna come through. Everybody finna come through. Roosevelt, let's talk, man. Let's talk. All right, brother. When did you get into comics? Were you always like into like fantasy? The Star Wars, Lord of the Rings of the world. When did you get into comics?
Well, brother, I've been reading comics since I was a youth. I mean, back in my day, there was no Diamond. There was no real comic book shops like we see today. There was just newsstands. So since I was a country kid and I lived outside of the city, I would have to wait at least till the weekend to get into town with my parents, walk through the malls or downtown to the newsstands, hit them up and look for comic books. And of course, being a black person, a foundational black American at that, I'm always looking for someone who looks like me. So, it would take a little bit of an effort, to be totally honest with you, brother, because majority of the characters were white. You can find Superman, Batman, The Flash, the Justice League. But it was hard to find a black superhero. So for me, it was almost like a scavenger hunt. I had to really work hard and check out numerous newsstands, and hopefully, if my luck was with me, I would find a comic book with a black character on the cover. So most of the comics that I read, of course, was Black Panther, Power Man Luke Cage.
Yeah.
Then as I got old into the 70s, Black Lightning came along.
Yeah.
So again, it was one of those, typical situations where I had to wait to get into town during the weekend, and that's how I got my started with comics, and I continue to collect pretty much to this day.
Oh wow. Right on. Right on. Right on. Are you aware of all Negro comics?
Yes, I'm aware of it. I've seen some of them. I never actually had a copy of them myself. My father spoke of them. He had them. But of course, when he got older, either his mother threw them away or they got lost in a move.
Yeah.
And I think he actually had a fire one time. So a lot of his comics, I mean, he had Superman #1, for example.
Action Comics. Oh man.
Yeah. When Superman first made his appearance. So he had a lot of old comics, man. I almost came down in tears. I'm like, oh my God, if I would have had those, I would have been the man. But yeah, I'm sorry. Getting back to what you asked, yes, I am familiar with the comic books. Yes, sir.
Okay. Oh no, because I was just gonna make a quick bullet point that Black Panther was plagiarized off of Lion Man, and Lion Man is Black Panther. Lion Man's out in 1950s. Black Panther came like late 50s, early 60s, right?
That's correct. I believe that's correct.
Yeah.
With Mr. Jack Kirby.
Yeah. I mean, shouts out to Jack Kirby, but just it's always some type of plagiarism and not acknowledgement, and that's just my issue. Like you didn't just think of this on your own. But anyway, I ain't gonna go super in depth down that road. That's another conversation with time. Brother Roosevelt. Okay, so you said yeah. Okay, all right. What inspired you to want to do your own comic book character? Purge. Let's talk about it.
Well, again, I'll go back to my youth. One of the things that made making comics a adamant part of my life, as I said, or as I can say, my purpose. For me, it wasn't just about representation, because you can draw a character with black skin, but what is the character's purpose? What is its goals? Is the character, woven in stereotypes? And I didn't want that. For me, one of the greatest superheroes that I grew up with, which shouldn't be too, what's the word I'm thinking of? Surprising.
Yeah.
Was Superman. I grew up with Superman back when it was black and white television, where you only get one channel.
Yeah.
I watched George Reeves, and when I looked at Superman, and I always felt that, wow, why is there a black superhero who has that type of presence among the people?
Right.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird, it's a plane. So when you look up in the sky, you look up because you are not only enamored, but you have this sense of respect for Superman. You honor him almost like a god. You revere him. And when Superman lands among the populace, when I watch those old television shows, people gathered around to soak in the positiveness that is Superman.
Yeah.
And he had all these wonderful values. He didn't lie. He saved. He sought justice.
He didn't say no black people, but he
protected
no
the
black
weak.
people later comics.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. As time went on, I used to run around with the towel around my neck, brother, pretending I'm Superman. But eventually, I stopped in the mirror one day and said, wait a minute, I don't look like this guy.
Yeah, I'm straight.
I don't look anything like him.
Yeah.
So I could never be him. So
Yeah.
what ends up happening when you are faced with that reality or pseudo-reality, you take on insecurities that you don't even know you're taking in as a kid. Because Superman can be powerful, and he can be revered, and he can be loved. And you look at him and say, well, he doesn't look like me. You then take on the insecurity that I can't be everything he can be because I'm not white.
Right.
You follow me? So something in me said, nah, that's not true. Okay? That's not true. I can be everything Superman can be.
Right.
I can be respected. I can be trustworthy. I can be a protector of my family. So why don't I, this is years later, create a superhero that looks like me, that has those values and even more?
Right.
So for me, what pushed me in that direction was to do a lot of historical research about everything that we as Black people, especially in America, Foundation of Black Americans, have done to build this country that we don't get credit for in the history books or otherwise. One of the things that I always go to as my reference, for example, is for the traffic light. Something that we take for granted now, that keeps us from killing each other in the streets, basically. Okay? It tells us when to stop, when to go. Well, that was designed and created by Garrett Morgan in 1923, a Black man. So we literally owe our safety and how we navigate the highways and throughout the cities to a Black man.
GPS.
I'm sorry?
A Black woman.
Right. Well, see, why isn't that taught in the schools? So for me, I'm thinking, well, I love comic books. I love heroism. So if I can weave in historical facts as well as showing Black superheroes as being revered, as being honored, as having great moral values, and can also illustrate the greatness that we demonstrate throughout history being in this country.
Period.
That to me is enough to push me toward continually creating content with that mindset, or as I said earlier, that purpose. So that in itself was my main, push to do what I'm doing today. But also, during my years in college, understanding business, supply and demand, those type of things, I actually went out on the street, brother, with a microphone and a cassette tape, and asked people, interviewed them, can you name me a Black superhero? They
I want to
couldn't
do
do it.
that right now. I want to do that right now. Away from Black Panther. No, away from Black Panther. Can't name me a black superhero.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe Static, maybe Black Panther, maybe Black Lightning, but really, it's difficult. It was difficult then, and it's difficult now. So that also was the thing that motivated me to produce Purge and other black superheroes, because you can name Batman, Superman, Flash, Green Lantern, Fantastic Four, the Human Torch. I mean, you can name all of them till the cows come home. But something that hit me as a business person was, why can't people name black superheroes just as easy? Simply because there's been so much money and marketing to push the white characters so that they are front of mind. Why? Because white supremacy needs to have themselves up front as the greatest, as the most powerful.
Right.
They don't want equality when it comes to how people look at white versus black.
Right.
So, and that's just in general. And I speak about that in a lot of my lectures, that when you look at black and white, it has been developed on purpose to make white positive and make black negative.
Right.
White lie, black lie.
Right.
White market, black market. Black sheep of the family. I
Right.
mean, you can go on and on.
White Christmas. White Christmas.
Right. You can go on and on. So white is considered pure, black is considered tainted.
Right.
And I think even Martin Luther King said in one of his speeches that I loved, he said, someone told a lie one day. They said that black wasn't beautiful. I'm here to tell you that black is beautiful. So for me, I'm taking that sentiment as well and saying black superheroes can be business owners, they can be inventors, they can be doctors, they can be in space.
Yeah, they can be in space, engineers.
Exactly. We're also in the future, okay? And since the world started with black folks, okay, why isn't that also translating to where if we were here in the beginning, we're going to be here in the end?
Right.
So my purpose, again, in what I've done for almost 30 years now, is to create specifically focused on black-led superhero comics. Period. That's it. As far as I'm concerned, inclusion is overrated. Okay.
Yeah.
Is overrated. Doesn't mean that I don't have other races of characters in my comic books, because the world is what it is. But when it comes to who leads the story, it's going to be a black person in all of these stories. Period. Right. Because the way I see it, white America or white creators don't have a problem with creating white superheroes that are powerful. And the way I look at it, and I'll land my plane, as they say, is that to me, there shouldn't be any pushback when I say my characters are all black-led characters, and I'm not really into inclusion like that. Right. Because every person, whatever race or gender, don't you want to see the best quality in everyone? Right. Don't you want to see the best in black people historically? Right. So we all should be wanting to see the best in whoever we are encountering. Right. So my thing is, I shouldn't get pushback for focusing on black people. Right. And I'll let my plane there, brother.
Right. Okay. So I want to touch on some points that you said. The irony, when they want to have inclusion, and their inclusion is just having somebody just show up, not having them be the hero, not having them be important. They just have them show up. Look at Falcon. Falcon was a freaking pimp, and I think so was Black Lightning. And Black Lightning talk like job tricky. Man, what? Like a lot of black people don't talk like that. Even when they had like Luke Cage talking Sweet Christmas, what black person says Sweet Christmas? Like, it's just like all the stereotype, like they played on all those things. I don't know, I was just like annoyed when I actually went back and read certain things, and I looked at like the representation of how like black people look. And it's just it bedaffles me. I'm on Stephen A. Smith right now, bedaffled. me that nobody knows about all Negro comics. Nobody even knows about Tom Floyd in 1972. The black man, John Henry Jones. The Dunker. He had a plethora of other comics that he worked on, but nobody knows him. Nobody talks about him. Kind of like what you said. When it comes to any of our accomplishments, like they just sweep that under the carpet, and you just like get flushed with it, white, because they got money to continue feeding that engine, and it's just like anything else gets lost in the sauce. And like granted, I learned this stuff from other people. So granted, I just remember just being on that journey, trying to just be a black nerd and go down that rabbit hole into Pandora's box, Alice in Wonderland. Just trying to find as much content as I could, and I'm grateful to be like where I am right now, and I'm grateful to be interviewing you right now, that we were able to connect thanks to social media. But okay, all right. Next question. So tell me about in the 90s. Just how did it make you feel to see so many black people making comic book characters away from like what we already seen, the Spawns and the Blades, the Black Panther and Luke Cages and the Black Lightnings of the world? How did it make you feel, having your own comic and then seeing other people with comics too? You want to tell us a little more about that?
Well, sure. I enjoyed it. I mean, the more the merrier, because we need different voices as far as black culture is concerned. And let me go back to something that you mentioned. As far as Luke Cage and the Sweet Christmas and all of that, a lot of that was over the top. But keep in mind too, back then they were feeding off of the black exploitation that was going on. So a lot of that dialogue came from that, and sometimes it just went over the top. But the reason I brought that up is that we have different black cultures. So
Right.
how I communicate and speak in North Carolina, it could be different than a brother in New York or from Compton.
Right.
It is what it is. So
Right.
we have a lot of, I consider, wonderful differences of our culture that we can feed from or extract in order to create wonderful stories. You see,
Mm-hmm.
not everything has to be about the drug pusher and the guy on the street corner, although that does exist.
Black family, struggling black man,
Right,
struggling
right.
like dysfunctional families, all that jib jab.
Well, see what I'm saying? That does exist, but that's not entirely who we are. So when
Right.
you're feeding just that into the media, into the homes via movies or comic books, then unfortunately, that's what you're going to think black culture is about. But to not get so far to beaten path, to answer your question, is that I enjoyed seeing other characters out there. Loved actually working with other creators with collaborations. I've done a few crossovers. I'm actually working on right now called Blackout. I've teamed up with a good friend of mine, good colleague, Jay Kelly. He has a character called The Brother. Wonderful character. I mean, this guy is an immortal who travels through time trying to right the wrongs that he actually was involved in during the transatlantic slave trade. You see, but he's immortal now, but he's quite powerful. So Purge and the brother have teamed up to deal with a issue in the technological city of New Salem where Purge lives. That there's a scheme to destroy that city. Okay. So the brother and Purge are working together to stop that from happening. So again, wonderful, man. I love it. What I do have a problem with when it comes to some black creators is that we do have a tendency, even I have fallen into that trap of creating derivatives of other characters.
Right.
And so what I've done is to extrapolate and draw from African historical mythology, for example. We have so much African history that we can use.
Right.
That we don't have to take what we see in America or what I perceive to be really just repackaged ideas from us that white people give us. Okay.
Right.
So I don't have to have a black Superman. I can go to Yoruba mythology and look up African.
Shango, yeah, Shango. You know, you got
There you
Shango.
go. You know,
Yeah, you got a lot.
the Orishnas.
Oyo. It's a lot.
Yeah,
It's a lot
it's
of
there.
it.
It has always been there.
Yeah.
So we have the ability to use that to create wonderful stories, man. So I've been working on that for, again, almost 30 years now. So for me, having more brothers and sisters out there creating positive Black content without, and I'll stress this, of course, this is something that I also mentioned in a previous interview. I don't accommodate political agendas.
Right.
In my books, okay? Now, it doesn't mean that my books aren't political. I'm talking about political agendas. There's no place in it for me, okay?
Right.
Because it doesn't serve me well as far as my storytelling.
Right.
I'm not going to do that. But for the most part, I love creativity. I love working with creative people. And I hope as long as I'm able to breathe, I'm going to continue to do this until I can.
Right. Okay. So tell me. I want to ask you about Purge in specific. Tell the people something that you would want, like when they read your comic. What's something that you would want them to catch on to or understand about Purge? And my next question would be, could you tell me? I have to edit that part out. My phone's fighting me. All right. Yeah. Could you tell us more about Purge? And also the next question would be, could you tell us more about the group of individuals you were working with? Amnex, I think that's the name of it. I might be saying it wrong. But so yes. Yeah, so tell us, what would you want us to see in Purge that you really try to emphasize with just Purge's overall MO. And just something. What the takeaways that you want people to grasp, and then we'll go into some of the people who you work with MNEX. I think that's the name of it. But yeah, Purge first.
All right. Well, Purge is a superhero that's actually based in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And I was fortunate enough. I think I sent you a article that you can look at your leisure that has Purge in 1993 on the front page. So that was a very proud moment for me because Winston-Salem has identified and acknowledged that Purge is their superhero. And there's not many superheroes that I know of that are Black can claim that, okay? And fortunately, it's not what I say, it's what I can prove. So I have the articles that say that, okay? New superhero has come to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. But Purge, the character itself, is a complex character where, as a kid, he was actually abducted by a clandestine group who was performing experiments on Black children throughout the East Coast. Okay. Now I'm assuming you're a little bit younger than I am, so because I'm closing in on 57. But back in the 70s, there were the Atlanta child killings or abductions back in the early 70s, maybe early 70s, maybe right into late 70s, early 80s, I believe, if my memory serves. So I kind of use that historic history, rather. Sorry, I use that history and the historical account, what I basically was trying to say there, and use that as part of my story. Well, in Purge's case, these kids were abducted, experimented on to increase their brain capacity. Okay. By putting implants in them. Some kids survived, some didn't. Some became mentally damaged. Yeah. Some went in coma, some died. Purge, fortunately enough, he survived. But as he grew older, he didn't realize that he had this implant in him. Now, prior to that, he was discarded like trash, left with social services or an orphanage. And he ended up being adopted by a Black family later in life. But he grew up not knowing he had this implant in him. But he was able to do many different things that was out of the ordinary because of his ability to control his brain power and his bodily function. So he was stronger, he could hear better, he could see better. He could pretty much mimic any martial arts move or fight move just by seeing it, okay? So as he got older, he took that ability and built a technological company in Winston-Salem. And through his technological prowess and advancements, partly because of that, he was able to grow Winston-Salem into what is now, in the comic book world, New Salem. Okay? It is one of the only first futuristic techno cities in the world. And what's great about it is that this city is predominantly black. And I wanted to recreate Black Wall Street, Tulsa. Okay? And then I said to myself as I was creating the story, what would Tulsa look like as a technological city with nothing but black folks or predominantly black people? Then I took it one step further. Think of Wakanda in America. How would that look? Not only physically, how would the city look, or structurally, but politically, how would that look?
Right.
It would be a big difference.
Yeah.
See? And Purge protects the city by helping to keep the technology within the city from being misused, and then that technology is put outside in the world. Okay. But at the same time, Purge, aka Richard Kincaid, that's his alter ego, he also is now trying to help himself by purifying himself, because now he's having headaches, he's having these memories come back that he have no idea where they're coming from. So now he's going through a journey to learn who he truly is. Now, what is that? Now we're playing upon black people who have been enslaved, where our identity has been stolen from us.
Right.
And now we're trying to really figure out who we really are.
Right.
In a country that is bent on oppressing us and suppressing who we really are and our greatness, you see? So my story has a lot of symbolic or symbolism in it, but also it feeds off of actual history. But for me, it's exciting. Purge is one of those superheroes who not only is highly intelligent, he's handsome, he's charismatic, and he understands how to command a room as a black man, you see. So that is something that we don't see much in media, especially movies, other than Black Panther with Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, or either Blade with Wesley Snipes back in the day. But other than that, you don't see that often. So I'm really focused on making sure that that's something that people walk away with when they read Purge or any of my comic books.
Right. I hear you, man. I hear you. All right. So let's talk about Amnex. Am I saying this correctly? What was the name of the?
No, the organization I was with was ANIA.
ANIA, there we go.
ANIA, the Association of Black Comic Book Publishers. It was ANIA, A-N-I-A.
Okay.
ANIA was started by four of us, and we all came together. We were in different parts of the country. Okay, there was Eric Griffin, myself, Nabil Hodge, Alonzo Washington, and we all were in different parts of the country. And at that time, we were producing black comic books, distributing through a black comic book distributor. Okay, and at that time, Eric Griffin contacted me and said, "Hey, man, look, I think we could do more together than apart. So why don't we form an association, call it ANIA, which is Swahili for courage. That's why we have the lion as our logo." And I said, well, sure, why not? I am definitely down with collaborating with other like-minded brothers, you see.
Right.
And at that time, I was actually finishing up a book called The Power Knights, which was a group of black superheroes. Okay, that was actually my first book. It was a black and white. And so he said, you know what? We already got a group. You think you come with a superhero that, a single hero, not a group dynamic. I said, well, yeah, I can do that. And I've been working on Purge, at least in my mind and on paper. So once we decided to pool our resources, I decided, you know what? Purge is the character I'm going to go with. So I worked with the artist at that time to help me create and develop the look for it that I had in my head and through my sketches. We signed it, and Purge was born. And Ania, we were my memory is a little shoddy because it's been a while now. It was about 30 years ago. But I think we were like the 13th or 14th company that made high sales with Diamond, which was unheard of when we didn't have any white backing. So we made headlines across the spectrum. I sent you USA Today, Newsweek, E! Entertainment. We were on Entertainment Tonight. That was one of our biggest claims to fame, so to speak. And we were also on a few Atlanta news shows back then. So we were pretty huge back then. And plus we were also heavy on the the comic book convention circuit back then. We did a lot of the Black festivals and Black conventions as well, Black business conventions. So we were all around making waves at that particular time.
We are almost out of time. Is there anybody or anything you would like to shout out before we get up out of here? I know you was telling me something about a movie or something in development.
Yeah, man, I am quite fortunate and quite blessed. A movie producer contacted me about a year ago. His name is Frederick Emerson. And we've been collaborating for about a year now. And make a long story short, because I know we're out of time, Purge will be a movie. It's going to be called Purge Techno City, man. I'm excited. We should, if everything goes as well as we expect, timing-wise, start filming in October, maybe the 1st of September. We're going to be filming ideally in Winston-Salem because that's where Purge lives.
Yeah.
LA, and perhaps in the UK as well. But you can visit my website, amarientertainment.com. Okay. And I know that I gave you a announcement card, I believe I sent you, about the movie, so you can feel free to share that. Yeah. But yeah, we're going to be, Purge is going to be live action, man. I'm quite excited. 30 years in the making, my brother. So I can't speak highly about what has come down. The ancestors have spoken, and Purge is going to be on the big screen. So look for that. More announcements to come. But as far as shout outs go, just check us out. Go online. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Roosevelt Pitt. Purge Past, Present, Unspoken is on Facebook. Look for me there. I'm also on Twitter. Crimson Seed 1, Roosevelt Pitt. And just again, keep a lookout. We'll be sharing updates as they come.
Roosevelt, listen, my brother, it has been an honor and a privilege. Thank you so much for your time. I know you got to go. Thank you so much for this interview, brother. I really appreciate it. Shouts out to Purge. Shouts out to the Black Comic Renaissance. Listen, it's amazing. It's happened and it's happening, man. Let's continue to keep that engine going, bro. Congratulations. And I look forward to watching your movie, which I will advertise like crazy on my page. And also, you can follow us at Respect My Nerds. But we also had put the, I think the flyer, which you had sent me, on the Respect My Nerds page, and also Trayvon X Copeland page as well. Roosevelt, we out of time, my brother. Thank you so much, and just keep doing what you do, brother. Please continue to do what you do.
Well, I appreciate you having me, Mr. Copeland, and we will continue to do what we do, Trayvon. Appreciate it, brother. Peace out.
All right, now you have a great day, Mr. Roosevelt.
You too, brother.
All right.